Do you hear the news? Oh my, did you hear the news? Well, apparently Ben Shapiro is moving to Nashville, Tennessee. Whoopee! Um, his program, the Daily Wire, is moving their operations, their programs, their employees, Ben Shapiro's silly self and his family to Nashville, Tennessee. Yeehaw! Well, why? Well, he claims that the economic and social factors of living in California makes things very unbearable for everything here. The whole partisan smear about, California, the blue states, and how terrible they are. So he's going to try to move to Tennessee. I just don't buy it. Um, I think that what it is that Ben Shapiro has been exposed for being a hypocrite, for bitching about living in a blue state like California, and he wants to keep his credibility and he save face. So he decided to go and move to Tennessee. That's really what it's all about. Move to a red state. That's basically what it's all about. It's all about partisanship and trying to not look like a hypocrite or whatever. But you know, um, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed at all. But he just doesn't want to look. When it comes down to it, he just does not want to look like a partisan, hypocritical hack. But guess what? As far as I'm concerned, he's still a partisan, hypocritical hack. No doubt about it. But hey, he puts his money where his mouth is and all that. Unlike Dave Rubin, who also that turncoat went from Young Turks to Blaze TV. I mean, the ultimate grifter that there if there ever was one. He sits there and he went from liberal to liberal with the Young Turks, progressive with the Young Turks, then became the disgruntled liberal, and then from the disgruntled liberal he went to being a libertarian, and then he went from being your typical libertarian to being a rightish leaning libertarian, and now he's drinking the Trumpian Kool-Aid, and he's now in league with all the other assholes in right wing media, the Rush Limbaughs, the Sean Hannitys, the Glenn Becks, the Mark Levins, and all of that. Only difference is that he's got a pleasant demeanor compared to the rest of them, but he is a grifter. He is a grifter just the same, and he bitches about California too. But I understand I understand there's a mansion being constructed in California right now for where he's about to move to, and in Dave Rubin's case, I can't really blame him. I mean, not. I mean, now being a gay man that he is, I mean, LGBTQ equality has gone a long ways in the last 30 some years. I mean, compared to 30 years ago, what have you. I would have said that if he would have moved to a Texas or a Tennessee or anywhere in the South or a rural Western state back then, I would have feared for the safety of Dave Rubin. But while there's been a lot of improvements made in LGBTQ equality, is still some degree of discriminations that takes place throughout the country. They can get married, they can be in the military and all that, but there's still, life is kind of tough. If you're gay, life is kind of tough for you, and he realizes that. So he remains in California. Why? Because California is still one of the safest places to 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 be a homosexual in the United States. Much safer than Mississippi or Alabama. Um, I don't know what I'm talking about in that regard. But Dave Rubin criticizes Joe Rogan for moving to Texas, saying, "Well, Dave Rubin, I mean, well, Joe Rogan is he's a Bernie Sanders supporter, and he's moving to Texas. So he's taking his Bernie supporting baggage down to Texas. Good. If there are more people that thinks like Joe Rogan and a whole lot less people that think like Ted Cruz in Texas, good. I'm that's what it comes down to. I got disagreements with Joe Rogan from my perspective. I mean, I like Joe Rogan now a whole lot better than I did 20 years ago. I'm going off to the side tangent here, but for a moment. But 20 years ago, when he was a rightish leaning libertarian, he was putting down David McReynolds. He was the Socialist Party candidate for president, making fun of his platform and everything. So I'm impressed that he went from making fun of David McReynolds in the year 2000. And David McReynolds told me that when he was alive, he told me that actually Joe Rogan was actually a very nice guy, and he talked to. And he said he's actually don't be so mad and sore at Joe Rogan. He talked to him in the green room and all of that, and that Joe Rogan is actually a nice person, and don't be too ill. Well, the late David McReynolds was a whole lot more magnanimous of a person than I am. But you know what? I think he was right because he had Bernie Sanders on his podcast, and he likes Bernie Sanders, and gave he gave Bernie Sanders pretty much his support. And of course the corporate Democrats decided to go and shit on Bernie Sanders for that, and whatever, those corporate Democrats can go to hell with their little virtue signaling too. I'm not partisan hack here. I know I'm criticizing Ben Shapiro, and I will continue to do that. But I criticize everybody. I criticize everybody on the right, on the left, and even people on my tiny little section of the left. Sometimes they'll get a little bit of a lecture from me too. I'm equal opportunity about that. But the point is that Joe Rogan went a long ways, and he's a decent guy, and I don't agree with everything, even what he says in the year 2020. But if there were more people like Joe Rogan in Texas and a whole lot less people like Ted Cruz, all the freaking better. So I mean, Dave Rubin, just shut up. I sometimes feel sorry for Dave Rubin when the people from in particular Majority Report with Sam Cedar go on. It's funny as hell when they do make fun of Dave Rubin, but still, it's just I just like, man, I feel so bad. They rag on him hard. But now I'm getting to think about it, and I'm like, no, you can rag on Dave Rubin. You can rag on him all you want. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Well, anyway, what was I gonna? I wanted to continue here. Oh, what was I gonna say here? Yeah. So Ben Shapiro's moving down in Tennessee. Whoopee, whoopee. Like I'm going to be so impressed. I mean, I live in North Carolina, and I see how politically correct California is, and and I know how right wing Texas is, and I complain a lot about North Carolina in a lot of ways, but damn, I mean, between Texas, California, and North Carolina, I guess I am satisfied with North Carolina, which is okay. My in my personal opinion, my favorite part of the country is New England. I love I love Connecticut. I love Rhode Island and Massachusetts and New Hampshire and Vermont. That's the best part of the country. I feel more at home there than I do, down here. But I have friends and I have relatives up north, so I mean, it's always a treat when I do go up there. But and those are blue states. Yes, they are. The blue section. So North Carolina is nice. I live in a I probably live in the reddest county, one of the reddest counties in the state. That's Johnson County. It's right up there anyway. Um, But the place, but Orange County, where Chapel Hill is located, is one of my favorite parts of the state. If you ever come down to North Carolina, I highly recommend Chapel Hill. The night scene and all of that is not quite what it used to be, but I mean, it's a nice town. The people are nice. It's very progressive. It's very progressive. It's very, just a great university there. I didn't go to that particular university, but my dad went to UNC Chapel Hill, so I have a soft spot, my heart for Carolina. I'm not into sports, but if you had to put a gun in my head and tell me which team to support, it would be Carolina because I just have a lot of admiration for the city of Chapel Hill. Again, I know I do what I do best, and I meander. Well, let me get back to what I was saying about silly Ben Shapiro. I mean, if you want to go move down to Tennessee, that's fine. I mean, there are. I'm not going to sit there and shit on Tennessee in every way, shape, or form. Except I'm a little bit. I think that he wants to sit there and talk about state governments in California being garbage and the red states govern well and efficiently. That's not so. Tennessee's proof of that. They were going to open a Volkswagen plant in Tennessee about a decade ago, and Volkswagen and the UAW wanted to work together. Volkswagen wanted the United Auto Workers to have a contract, and the government in Tennessee basically told Volkswagen, "You move that factory here, and you bring that union here. You're not getting any subsidies." They are so these right wing people sometimes are so they accuse people on the left of being stupid and everything. You would want revenue coming into this country, into the state. What makes you look at a company and go, ew, because they got some unions? You see, because in the right wing mindset, it isn't that what they think when it comes to economics is it's not so much that they're analytical and go down toward the bottom line and go by what should be um, what should be beneficial to the economy. They're governed by the ideology. They don't want unions in their state, and so I mean, anytime I hear anybody on the right lecture me about statism and the economy, I'm always going to let them know about what the state of Tennessee did to the Volkswagen company. But I digress. And getting back to Ben Shapiro, you know, um, and I will agree one thing about California with regard to Ben Shapiro. I mean, I may not particularly like the SJW politically correct mindset because I'm not that kind of a leftist. However, having that said, look at the state of Tennessee. Have you ever heard of the community called Laurel Bloomery? It's in the northeastern part of Tennessee. You know, you can sit there and lambast California for being all about liberality, but in Laurel Bloomery, I believe that is now the modern days headquarters of the white nationalist group, the National Alliance. The group that's associated with the Turner Diaries. Um, and Ben Shapiro, I know you're not a racist, but they would hate you just as much as they will hate me or for being a progressive. They'll hate you for being Jewish just as much as they'll hate a black person for being black or what have you, or gays for being gay, or Latino for being Latinos, or what. So you're moving to a state that has a well-known white nationalist group, and Tennessee is one of the whiter states in the South, and there is quite a bit of white nationalist activity in that state. So just keep that in mind. But I want to go and go on about how people like Ben Shapiro would sit there and lecture about how crappy the blue states are and how wonderful the red states are. Let's go by that logic for a second. Alabama, Mississippi, probably the probably one of the most poverty-stricken states in the entire damn country. Republican governors, Republican legislatures, Republican members of the House in Washington D.C., Republicans members of the Senate in D.C. If the red states were so wonderful, why is Alabama and Mississippi, which are both hopelessly Republican, why aren't they up to the level of a place like like Vermont, or a place like people who sit there and knock down what's going on with the instability, but in Washington and Oregon, but they got one of the higher standards of living in the country. So just you know compare those states to places like Alabama and Mississippi. I would take the blue state any day. Now, when I this is does not even apply to Ben Shapiro, because I actually do not believe Ben Shapiro. I don't know him. I don't think he's a racist. And I'm not being condescending, whatever. I really don't believe he's a racist. Okay, I do think he's a hopeless partisan hack that shake his political pom poms for the GOP, and that's what he's there for. And he's doing it to giving it a nice little millennial image makeover of the shit that's spewed out by Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh or Mark Levin. But the thing about it is, when he talks about when when the right wing people talk about blue states, it's usually code word for blacks. When they talk about Detroit, they really mean black people. When they talk about Chicago, they mean black people. When they talk about Washington D.C. or New York or Los Angeles, they're always talking about black people or various minorities. And again, you want to go by that logic. What about the fucking red states? Run by white right wing assholes. Alabama, Mississippi. If it was so great to have a state run by the Republicans, then Mississippi and Alabama would just be like the beacon of a shining city on a hill. Would be just so wonderful. Well, like Shank Euchre said, a lot of red states are not that well off economically, and on the average, blue states do better. Now, I hate to talk in terms of red and blue because I'm really an independent, but since I lean blue more than anything else, not necessarily by party affiliation, but overall values. I think that there is some merit to that. The fact that blue states do better than red states, that's a given. Is a no brainer. So to sum it up, Ben Shapiro is a silly, silly, silly little hack. He's Fred Savage from the Wonder Years, with the shitty politics of Mark Levin. Not really a good thing. Anyway, in conclusion, if you like what you heard for the past 20 minutes, press like and comment. And if you were triggered, comment anyway. If you're passionate about something and you have a platform or want to build a platform, by all means do so. As a First Amendment absolutist, it is my duty to inform you that we're all the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe. I can emphasize that enough. Please subscribe. As an aside note, I'm still keeping the URL Social Democracy. But in about in a short while, maybe in about a week and a half or so, I will be introducing a new name for this channel, and that way, this channel can I can kind of get my name and handle out as this channel grows, and we are slowly growing, And I thank each and every one of you for making this happen. Um, so I'm just letting you know what's up. So like, comment, share the content, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. And until next time, peace and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.